Hey guys, it's AC. Welcome to the House of AC. I appreciate you guys tuning in, whether this is on the live stream that you can watch on multiple different channels, or if you're watching it later on YouTube, thanks for tuning in as well, or on the podcast. Um, I just some housekeeping. I know our intro to the House of AC podcast says I do this every day. I used to do it every single day when I had a more open calendar, and I hope to get back to that day. But I am doing it as frequently as I possibly can to bring you great content to learning about finances, money, fire movement, financial independent, retire early, real estate investing, just everything to improve your wealth and your finances, just education in that space. That is what I'm always aiming to do and looking to do. So thank you for hanging in there and checking out the episodes as they come out. But I definitely aim to do one a week, but they come out in batches. So sometimes I do 4 a week. Sometimes I do one every 2 weeks. It really is a combination of scheduling guests and scheduling my calendar, as I'm also doing a bunch of other things. If you're not aware, I have another podcast also called, in the real estate vein, it's called Agent Upgrade with Alan and Jasmine, where we talk to realtors about becoming top real estate agents. So if you're a realtor listening to this show, I'd encourage you to check out Agent Upgrade podcast as well. All right. So with that sort of housekeeping behind us, I wanted to, I'm excited to bring in today's guest. His name is Benjamin Huang. He is founder, CEO of MIT Capitals. He also has a podcast. MIT stands for Mindset into Transformation. He's used to be in Boston. Now he's based in Delaware, does some work in Philadelphia. So sort of in the New England, Northeast area of the United States. We're going to hear his story about real estate investing, his background, how he got into it, and what's sort of pushing him to do bigger and bigger deals. I just love these stories. I love talking to people, how they got started, because we all got started at different points in our life, right? And most of our guests, it's not a story of I inherited a bunch of real estate from my parents, or I'm a fourth generation real estate investor. Like these are all stories like, hey, I had a spark that motivated me to change my life. That's sort of how I got started. If you don't know my story, I hated my day job. I just could not go and have a boss. That was just my personality. I just wanted to be in control of my own schedule, my own income. I wanted to be fully responsible for my outcome. And I couldn't have those things at a 9-to-5 job because my income was obviously dictated by my boss. My outcome, whether I was going to get promotions or something, I could only do so much. And there's all the political games and stuff. I just felt like I was not in control of my life. But with real estate and just being on top of my finances, it gave me options. And options to me was why I do it. It's not, hey, what's the biggest scorecard I can run up in terms of my bank balance? It's what are the most options? What is the time freedom? What can I want to wake up and choose what I want to do each day rather than, set my alarm and have to be at a day job at a certain time. Like the one of the days I remember, the most joyous mornings ever was that first day I left my day job because I was full-time in real estate and I didn't have to set my alarm. And I was just like, the joy that came over me. I mean, I woke up at the exact same time without my alarm going off, but I was like, I don't need to go out. I don't need to get out of bed. And I was like, I've made it. I've succeeded. I've achieved all my dreams. And it wasn't that I was rich then. It was just, I had made the decision to go all in on real estate and leave my day job. So these are all inspirational stories. Everyone has their spark that keeps them going. I love hearing other people's sparks. So let's get into it and bring Benjamin in. Benjamin Huang, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
So what is your backstory? Maybe I hope you're not a third generation real estate investor, because I just said that,
No.
that's no one's inspirational story, but I'd love to hear your background. Yeah.
I was going to say that I'm a first generation of real estate investor. But I was traditionally trained as an engineer scientist. There's just one day that I realized that how am I the only person who are bringing in income, and I'm not allowing my money to work for me, right? I'm basically chasing money, not my money chasing for more money. And
Yeah, I like that. So you're basically chasing more money, going to your day job, trying to get promotions, working there. You're chasing money, but now how'd you say that? Your money's chasing its own money, kind of thing,
yes,
by
exactly.
reinvesting it, right?
Exactly, because you're only one body, right? You can only chase so much money. But if you let your money to chase for more money, it's infinite, right?
Right, right.
You can do as much as you want. And I guess I really appreciate to come to a show because I believe the mindset or the value that you are creating to our society is very aligned to what I'm doing. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Well, thanks for having us, or having me. Why am I saying that? No, thanks for being here, and having the ability to come join us and make time for us. So, what was that spark? Were you working a day job, or were you in college? Where did that seed get planted in your brain where you said, "Hey, real estate is a path for me"?
Yeah, so it all started with a big project that I was doing when I was in Boston. During that time, it was a very intense project. We were working more than 15 hours a day,
Was this a
and
software engineering project?
no,
No.
no. It's actually related to the last pandemic, Ebola virus.
Okay.
During that time, we're working on big project with all the other lab across the nation. During that time, pandemic, so everybody were in crisis mode,
Yeah.
and we were just pushing ourselves, working day and night, and try to get result out. And every month, when I look at my account, I feel extremely frustrated because I was like, okay, I've been working like 15 hours a day and I barely have weekend. I didn't even have time to spend money. How come how come my account is not filled,
Right.
right? So that started to get myself thinking until the time that that project wrap up. I uh, I I read the books, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I guess it's a very common books that everybody or most of the people get inspired. I noticed that why cash flow is the way to go, and why you should let your money work for you, and how we should increase our financial intelligence.
Yeah, and so for those listening who don't know, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Richard Kiyosaki, one of the best-selling books.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Robert, yeah, I always call him Richard. Robert Kawasaki. You're right. Thank you for that. And it's not even a real estate book, but it's been sort of become the number one selling book in the real estate space. And it's all about buying assets that have cash flow that pay for themselves, which obviously real estate does that, and the fashion he describes. But there's other assets you can invest in, small businesses and royalties and patents, things like that.
Exactly.
And I grew up, I fell in love with that book, and I bought his board game,
I did
the
too.
Rat Race. Yeah, right. Cashflow 101 and Rat Race, which is a board game, and it's like $150 or something. Like
Right.
he knows he charges way too much for it, but if you go all in on his education, it's great. And that board game is similar to like a mix of Monopoly and Life. And you get dealt cards, and one's a doctor, one's a truck driver, one's a janitor, and you get certain salaries, and so you feel like you're coming off at unfair advantages at the start of the game. And I love
Exactly.
it because then it's whoever has what ends up being is whoever has the janitor or the truck driver usually has an advantage because
Yeah.
they don't have the debt, right? And
Exactly.
the doctor has the huge medical student education loans and the big cars and everything.
Mhm. I was going
And
to say that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. I mean, some even if you started with lower income, it doesn't really means that you're further away from getting out of rat race,
yeah.
right?
It was easier because um, you buy one asset that pays. It's easier to replace a janitor's income than it is,
Exactly.
a doctor's income, right? So, it put it into perspective. Like, wow, I don't have to be a doctor to achieve my dreams. Like, I can easily replace my income, which I was a software project manager, and making $50,000 a year, and I was like, okay, it's just 1, 2, 3 properties, and I can do this, kind of thing. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, that's Rat Race, the board game, highly recommended by both of us. I can't
Right.
wait to play that with my kids one day. I don't know if they're gonna be as excited about it as I am.
Yeah, and I think there's an online version now that you can gather with your friends and
Oh,
have
okay.
some fun. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Cool. So you're doing this project. You were working way too many hours a week. You didn't even have time to spend your money, but also you were sort of disappointed in the amount of money that was sitting in your bank account.
Yeah.
And okay, and then did you read this book, and that was the catalyst?
So, just adding a little more color to what happened when I started to read that books, I noticed that I can't sleep. My my sleep just gone. I was like,
Yeah.
why have I been wasting time sleeping and not looking for deals and not looking for cash flows asset, right?
Right.
So and if you ask my wife, she would tell you that, yeah, I mean, during that time Benjamin was crazy. Like, he's been staying on couch every day and just reading that books over and over and over again, right?
Right.
Because I noticed that is the moment that my mindset start shifting, right?
Right.
I know that if I'm the one push myself to do something, it will never be long term, right? It can last a day or two or a weeks at most, right?
Yeah.
But if my mindset shift, it changed me. It changed how I see things. It changed every single decision I make, and that is when I start looking, and eventually I got my very first property that generates 495% return.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I want to dig into that. I just want to sort of give some more background on what Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about, and it's the assets where it's saying, hey, don't go buy a $30,000 car, right? You can start a business. That's $100 online to file a business, and then that business, even though it's not making any money yet because it's a new business, but you buy that car in the name of the business, then that's a $30,000 business loss that you can write off on your taxes. So at least you saved on taxes. Like there's sort of strategies like that, but it's not just like sort of tax loopholes, but it's like, but it's this, buy an asset that kicks off cash flow that pays for these dreams. And the more you do that, the more often you do that, things change. So you went out and said, I'm going to go buy a property that obviously had tremendous returns. So what type of property was this? Was this just you, or did you partner with friends? Are you open to talking numbers? How much did this cost? How old were
Let me
you? All those questions. Yeah.
let me tell you this. This property was not the property that would look like it would generate more than 50%. Let me tell you
Oh,
that, right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a normal condo. And when I say condo, it's physically it actually look more like a townhouse, right?
Okay.
Basically, you have your own driveway, and it's a three storage the house. And during that time, it was a house right by a university.
Okay.
And I was actually like during that time, I was actually working in that university, and I
Okay.
noticed that the entire regions, in the radius of like 50 miles, all the population's kids will need to come to this university because it's the best university in that region, right?
Okay.
And
Are you talking about Harvard University in
no,
Boston? Oh,
no,
okay.
that's my second job, second positions there in Montana, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I love college adjacent
Mhm.
properties because you basically have a built-in tenant base that rotates constantly.
Exactly.
If it's undergrad, you can typically get parents to co-sign. So if there's 4 bedrooms, you have 4 parents co-signing, which is
Hmm.
kind of good. I've done a few where it's sort of a little bit nicer than most, and then you get the graduate students who are a little bit quieter, done with the
Right.
party, and they've got to do more studying. They want it to keep it a little bit nicer. So yeah, university campuses are evergreen. All right. So
Hmm.
wait, so this was in Bowman, Montana, you said?
It's in Bozeman, Montana. Yes.
Bozeman. That's right. Okay. University
Yes.
of Montana. Okay. So you bought
Yeah.
a townhouse condo, and How old were you at the time?
At the time, probably was 27, 26, 27, I
Okay.
think.
All right.
Yeah.
And you're working this job. You're like, I got to change things.
Yep.
And was this a house hack situation where you're going to live in it?
Yeah. So basically, what I did was I acquired, with the primary resident, loan, and during that time, I believe that was my first FHA loan, which
Yep.
is 3.5% down payment. Um, Before I even submitted the offer, I actually was meeting all the local contractor that I can find online.
Okay.
I go to their office, go to where they work, and just chat with them and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, and what do you think? How much do you think it will cost you? And just FYI, most of the people are willing to spend like 35 minutes chatting with you, but not every single person would be able to sit down and really go through your plan and really tell you this is doable or not. But I figure that, hey, if I talk to enough people, eventually I'll get one, and that's what happened. I was
Yeah.
able to find one contractor who are willing to just go to a bar with me, and I'll just buy him a drink, and we sit down, go through a plan. So basically, what I was trying to do is it's a three story house, right? Three level, and it's a four bedroom, 3.5 bath. Um, yeah,
Okay.
three and a half.
So
Yeah,
so you knew that this was you were aiming specifically for something that needed work, like because you wanted to shop for your contractor up front. That was part of the plan.
I was aiming for something that is in the best location
Got it.
within that region,
Got it.
right?
Got it. Got
And
it.
that's a community that right by the campus,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
I knew that location is best. As long as I can run it well, it's going to have a great return. So most people in that community, they are just buying a house and rent it out as a a four bedroom and 3.5 bath, right? They basically rent to one like college student, and that college student would just sublet, just like look for its roommate and things like that.
Right.
But I came in with a different mindset. I came in and decided to turn that into apartment. So
Okay. So first of all, you were going to live there, get a roommate to offset some of your
exactly.
mortgage, put your 3.5% down payment on the FHA loan, and um, you got your contractor who's going to fix it up. It's close to
Hmm.
campus. All these things
Hmm.
that make it very attractive to live there. And did you ever move in, or did you
Yes.
immediately? Okay, so you lived in it, which is a requirement of HAA loan. You're
Yeah.
supposed to live there for a year,
Exactly.
but typically they say as long more than 6 months is sort of
Right.
really what they want you to do
Right.
according to their website. But ideally, it's a
Exactly.
year. Um, and
And I guess
so yeah,
there's one key thing is that it's a four-bedroom house, and eventually I actually turned it into a seven-bedroom house.
okay, so yeah, and so how did you do this? So obviously, it
So
was more of a boarding house situation.
yeah, so basically it has two large living room,
Right.
and I decided to turn one slightly larger one with the windows into two additional room.
Awesome.
And
So yeah,
and
I love this. That's similar to my story. My first thing, I bought a one-bedroom apartment. I turned the living room into a second bedroom, rented that out
mhm.
to make some extra income. So you're able to squeeze in an extra two bedrooms on this thing.
I
And
split the master into two
okay, master than two. Yeah.
because that's a
And
huge size master. And then I basically live in the lowest level. Basically, it has its own bath and one bedroom.
okay. And then this works in college situations because a lot of college students they just want the cheapest place to throw
Exactly.
possible. I don't care like if it has a window or I could just throw my bed on the floor and let's call it a day. And you're
Hmm.
probably what charging per bedroom sort of
Yes,
situation.
yes.
Yeah,
So I basically was looking for tenants one by one,
yeah.
right? Basically, I advertise them. Say it's a by rental,
Hmm.
and I guess the challenging part was some college student would prefer to get a whole house, and will be able to invite their friends over to live together, and they get to party or they get to hang out as much as they want,
Right.
right? And so the way I operated actually naturally avoided people are looking to party, look,
Right.
looking to cause damage and things like that. Actually, in that community, a lot of houses were damaged because of partying students.
Oh, yeah. So, well, can we talk numbers? How much did this property cost?
It was about like 280, I
280. So
believe. Hmm.
$280,000. You put 3.5% down. Let me get out my handy calculator here.
Yeah.
So, because that that seems like a great college town price. So basically $9,800 to as a down payment.
Hmm.
Um, and you turned it into, you said 7 bedrooms?
7 bedroom, and I took one.
Okay, yeah. So you had 6 tenants. How much were you charging per bedroom?
In average, I would say about 700.
Okay, so wow. All right. So then that's $4,200 a month. And I know a $280,000 mortgage does not cost $4,000 a month.
And during that time, it was a FHA loan, and I believe it was like 2.75 or something
Okay.
interest
All
rate.
right. Yeah. So then you're probably quickly replacing your day job income with that rent roll, right?
Right away.
Right away, instantly. And then did you leave your job right away?
Let me tell you that I believe that mindset shift
Yeah.
has started to build into the way I work, the way I look at work,
Yeah.
right? I used to come in and say, okay, how can I satisfy the requirements of my boss?
Yeah.
And I eventually, get this mindset shift, and then started to look at the project and the problem itself and say, what can I do to make this project better or create more value to this thing instead of satisfying someone?
I love that. And you're way more altruistic than me, I suppose, because I had a similar situation. I bought a duplex. I had 6 roommates, similar numbers that we went through for yourself on my property, and then I instead of showing up for the job and hating it, I used that job as a vehicle. My mindset was, oh, this job will allow me to get another mortgage, and this
Hmm.
job will get me another mortgage, and this. So I was like, I wanted my job because it meant I could get more and more mortgages, but it
Exactly.
took that giant cash flow where it just replaced my day job income, just like you, where you're like, wait a minute, I don't have to show up and please this boss, but I can use this for good. And you're like, well, let me be more valuable to the project, and
Exactly.
you're a better man than me. So, but and one thing I want to go back to, because this is where a lot of people get
Hmm.
hung up. They hear your stories and they're like, "Oh, it must be great that property was $280,000. Oh, it must be great that interest rates were 2.75. I can't
There's a
do that.
lot.
I can't." Yeah, like guys, it you can't control the conditions. The conditions are always going to change. There'll be a time when those that goes back to those rates. It's going to be like, but it's the fact that you started and you did something. I'm sure at that time it seemed that that house was too expensive. It seemed that the loans were too much money and too difficult to get. It seemed like it always
Exactly.
appears to be the worst market to start this path. And then
Exactly.
what happens is you're in it 5 years, 10 years, and you're like, oh my gosh, I should have started 2 years before that. Like that's just the nature of real estate investing. It
Yes.
just get started and don't wait for the right time. The right time is today when you've had enough of whatever it is and you want to
Mhm.
change your life.
Exactly. And Alan, let me tell you, this is just like you said, right? Not as simple as what we just talked about, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, back to that time, I actually was finding myself having hard time, come up with both down payment and also the construction cost.
right,
I was pulling out my balance, credit card balance transfer to pay for the contractor, and during that time, you know, the balance transfer amount was not in very good, uh, conditions, or the interest rate wasn't that great.
right.
So I actually needed to go through a service called plastic. Not sure if you have heard, but basically it's a website that allow you to use your credit card to basically pay for a certain money, and they will send you the check.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh,
And
yeah.
they
A cash advance off your credit card. Yeah, yeah.
exactly,
Oh, okay. Okay.
exactly,
Wow. Yeah. So you're struggling, you're sweating, you're saying, do I have enough money to do this? That feeling is everyone's first feeling, right? And so
exactly,
people listening who haven't bought something yet or thinking about buying another product, that sort of like, where are you going to get money to pull this off is a very common thing. And I remember my first condo was a $99,000 condo in Brooklyn, New York, when no one wanted to live in Brooklyn. I got to the closing and I walked, and there was just like closing fees that I didn't plan for. Somehow, the New York, you had to tip the closing attorney. I
right,
didn't know that it wasn't, there's all these different things. And I walk out there and I think I had like $70 in my checking account. And I was like,
wow,
oh my God, what? Like, I just felt like, how am I even going to make the first mortgage payment? Like
hmm
this is insane. And that was $99,000. And interest rate at that time was 7.5%. And it never feels like the right time. Right. But
exactly,
like both of us, this was a catalyst that started a chain of reactions, your mindset shift at your work, that really altered, both of our lives, kind of thing.
exactly, exactly. And hey, even the cost for the paint, I put it on credit card.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I don't pay until the last day I have to pay. Right.
right, right. Yeah, and at least did your coworkers know you were doing this? Did they think you were crazy? Did they just
Well,
like, yeah,
I I think they sense some change
yeah,
in me, and to be honest, I kind of get either fired or layout, or just basically they're not renewing contract with me.
oh, okay, yeah,
Uh, when I joined there, I initially I started to trying to fulfill whatever request that my boss wanted to want me to do,
right,
and then eventually when my mindset shift, I realized there's a lot of things that really doesn't make sense. And when I try to discuss with them, if they can't take it or if they just think otherwise, they were like, okay, so you're not even taking the order now,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So yeah, I mean that is also a moment to tell you that hey, there's a better things for you to do. There's a better project that would allow you to create more value.
got it.
So yeah,
Okay, so so obviously you were able to replace your day job income. Didn't affect your life so much. You weren't beholden to this boss and the
hmm
contract. Um, did you make the decision? Hey, I'm just going to buy more real estate. Is that sort of the path you decided to take? Like where?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My after I bought my first property, I deeply believe in education.
Mhm.
Right? I believe in the financial education that I have to keep doing, and therefore I actually use those cash flow to go to conferences, to go to different places, and just learn from experience. Look at how people do deals, things like that,
Yeah.
right? And uh, but during that time, I still have employee mindset, right? I still
Right.
feel like I need to, get a job or do I need to have a W-2 to be able to extend,
Right.
right? So and I also noticed that okay, my next job is probably not going to be Montana, so it was difficult for me to just keep looking in that region because during that time I personally managed the property,
Right.
right? And I couldn't trust any local management, and also, to be honest, most of the management company they hate manage
Right.
room by room,
Right.
right?
Right.
So no one would take that. And so I decided to get out of town. 1 year after I got out of town, I decided to sell that property
Okay.
because it's just too much operation cost,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
And basically I try to sell it in a way how people would view it in commercial real estate. How basically the price is determined by the money or the money that the business can generate, right?
Yeah, and well, let's jump in here. A couple things. Yeah. So first, yeah, if you're selling a residential property, it's appraised by similar properties
Hmm.
in the neighborhood, right? The year built and things like that. Which, if you have two landlords have the exact same property on the exact same street, one's getting $4,000 a month, one's getting $2,000 a month. Residential appraiser is going to say these are exact same value.
Exactly.
Commercial doesn't do that. Commercial buildings, which are 5 units or more, look at it as a business, and all they care about, mostly, not all, but the majority of what they care about is the income it
Cash
generates.
flow.
Yeah, the
Hmm.
net operating income. And so, if two buildings look exactly the same, are exactly the same, but one landlord is a little bit more better of a business person and charges for storage and parking and gets renovated to get a little bit more rents. One's getting $4,000 a month, the other's getting $2,000 a month. The $4,000 one, even though they're the exact same building, would be twice as much as the
Exactly.
$2,000 one, right? Okay,
Exactly.
so you priced it as if it was a commercial property generating this great, because it's a small business,
Right.
sort of in this home, a boarding house.
Exactly.
And you said, like, I want to throw that out there right now. There's apps. There's a guy here in Atlanta, Pad Split, which is an app built for rooming houses, so people can split the utility bills amongst them and things like that. So
Right.
there's businesses being built around this
Hmm.
concept. So were you able to find a buyer based on that modeling? Because sometimes that's difficult to do.
Let me tell you, I've tried to sell this house with with the agent who helped me buy the house,
Mhm.
and she was like, "You're crazy. You're pricing 70% more than all the
Right,
other
right.
comparable." And initially, she didn't want to do it, and I simply asked her, "Okay, is this the price that I can set, or is it a price that you need to
Yeah,
set,
yeah,
right? According to some other thing, right?" I didn't know much at the time, and she was like, I've been here for more than 30 years, and so trust me, you're not going to get any offer. And I was like, okay, why don't we do this? Let's set this price, and I'm going to let it sit for like 3 weeks, and
yeah,
if we don't get any, then we'll go your way.
yeah.
And she was like, sure. And uh, the first week, we got a lot of showing, but we didn't get any offer. On the second week, I decided to drive by and take a look what's going on, and I noticed, okay, there's just a for sale sign right there,
Right.
right? I basically, go to Dollar Tree and pick up a sign myself, and instead of saying it's for sale, I put it, um, 495% return,
Oh, yeah. A
and I said
495% return on your money.
exactly
Yeah,
495% return,
yeah,
and how much of cash flow that you will get,
yeah.
right? And I basically calculate with the price that I, put on, and basically do the math for
Right.
the buyer. Eventually, I start to get some calls because I put my own numbers on the sign that I
Right.
put on,
Okay.
and I started to get some calls. And the interesting thing is, one person who called me was actually a student at
Oh,
the
yeah.
university, and he was like, "You are telling me that I buy this house, I will be able to pay for my tuition?"
Wow. Yeah, that's a game changer. Yeah, yeah.
And I told him that, well, it will not only pay for your tuition. If you keep hold on to it, you will be able to pay for your kids' tuition.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah. I like it.
Yeah. So, start from that point, another mindset change. I noticed that we should not advertise in the way that residential buyer would look at,
Right,
right?
right, right.
Eventually, we got offer, and of course, my agent was telling me that, hey, you should grab it and run.
That what is?
You should grab the offer
Oh,
and
yeah,
run,
yeah. Right, right, right,
right?
right. Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, okay, give ourselves another 48 hours,
Okay.
and eventually there are more people asking. We're able to leverage it a bit more and bump up a bit more,
So what did
right?
you finally go under contract for?
I think it was like 370 or 380, something like that.
Okay, so you basically $100,000 more. How much money did you have to put into renovating the property, adding the extra walls and doors?
It was I believe 25, 28, something like that.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So you made 60, $70,000. You've had this property for at least 2 years.
Yes,
So tax free, no
tax
capital
free.
gains because it was a primary residence for 2 years. And I just want to jump on this. This is an important aspect. A lot of real estate agents, I would say the majority of real estate agents don't understand real estate investing. And not to knock them, it's just that's not been their client base. And I think a lot of people who say they've had a bad experience with real estate agents, it was a wrong fit. Like you're hiring a basketball coach to teach you hockey. Like
Exactly.
it's not just because you're a coach of a sport you can coach everything, right? And so um, I, I if make sure that your real estate agent understands real estate.
Yeah,
And the worst ones are the ones that say, I've been doing this for 30 years. And
exactly.
it's like that does, but you've been doing 30 years teaching basketball. You haven't done 30 years teaching hockey, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And there's one thing that I really was thinking that most agents, well, not to say there's no value or something like that, but most agent, they are making less commission than
Yeah.
waiter,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh,
right?
maybe,
If you're a waiter, you're getting like what, 10%, 15%, 20%, even more sometimes.
oh, yeah,
But as an agent, you're
yeah,
getting paid like what, 5%, 6%,
yeah,
7,
yeah. Right.
right?
Yeah, the ticket number, the value is a little bit higher, but
Of
yeah,
course.
they're infrequent. Right, right, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so I mean, they don't think in the way of being an investor. They're
right.
thinking a way of making commission like yourself.
Yeah, right, right. So, yeah. And also as a realtor, it would drive me insane if the seller put their own phone number on it, because then I'm like, you know,
She wasn't happy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think she came around to see that, well, we actually did get the numbers. So, yeah, all the importance, make sure you have the right team to manage your property. So wow, so you went in, you won big your first time. And I just want to keep going back to this. Like, it wasn't a surefire home run on before you looked at it. Even when you're under contract, you're putting everything on your credit card. And
Oh, there's
you're
a lot of things.
stressed. Like, am I going to make this work? And then, sure enough, like, you just believed in the numbers. You believed in yourself. Well, we're going to find a way. I need to pay rent anyway. Might as well pay a mortgage. Fairly common to have a roommate in a college town. Let's get some roommates. Let's get another roommate. Like,
Hmm.
it's there. It's never an easy process. It's never like people listen to these stories and be like, okay, when I find that deal, I'll move on it. But at that time, it didn't feel like a deal, right? And it just all these like home run stories that agents love sharing and I love hearing about. At the time, it felt like a single. It felt
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe it'll give me a step forward. And then you fast forward 2 years and you're like, oh wow, I made $4,000 a month and sold it for $100,000 more 2 years later, tax free.
Hmm.
Then you're like, look back and you're like, oh, I'm glad I did something. I'm glad I didn't wait any longer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And there's actually a lot more challenges than what we have talked about, right? Including, initially you need to, do this layout change. There's a lot of regulation going on, around this area. And um, a lot of contractor that I talked to, they were telling me that, hey, let me tell you this: the city, you're looking at minimum 1 month to get your permit to do
right,
this,
right,
right?
right.
And you need to hire a architect, you need to hire an engineer to draft this for you and things like that. They can't do it. And I was like, okay, if that's the case, I'll go study the regulation myself.
Yeah.
I ended up went in to read six
Mhm.
different codes of the regulation, fire code, the plumbing,
Right,
the
right.
electricians, things like that, right? So I read them all, and I put together the design layout myself.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah,
I
because everyone needs an egress, a way to escape or whatever.
exactly
Yeah, right, right.
windows and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I put together a 11 pages report with the design,
right.
with 2-page design layout, and I bring it to the building department myself.
Oh, okay.
I went in there. I talked to the ladies. Say, hey, I'm trying to get a permit to do this, and this is what I'm trying to do. And she was like, We got the engineer who only come in like twice a week and things like that, and I mean, you need to wait. And I was asking, okay, he just came in like two days a week. What does he do for other days?
Yeah.
And she was telling me, oh, she's actually a contractor and something like that. I
Oh,
said, okay,
perfect.
can I get the name?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, sure. So I reached out and I went to the place where he works, and of course I was asking him in the way that I need a contractor,
Right. Yeah.
not a
And
permit.
so he's going to make sure it's done to code. He's on
Exactly,
both sides. Yeah. Perfect.
exactly. So I went over there, and I didn't show him the design. I was just asking, okay, so, and I was just looking at the property. And I was telling him, okay, so if I want to do this, this code. This is something I need to get aligned with. Is that right? So I get all his confirmation, and I said, you know what? I happen to have a project that will apply to all these code,
Yeah. Awesome.
and I show him the design. Is this something that you think the city would approve? And he was telling me, hey, you know what? I'm the approver.
Ah, yeah. Nice.
and
Nice.
and he was like, this is something that I'll approve overnight,
Wow.
because all the things were just talked about, and
Right.
orally he agreed,
Yep.
right? So I was like, great, do you think you can just put your name on it just for me, and so I get to tell my handyman, and that we can do this, so that I can get them on schedule. He said, sure. He put a short sentence and say, this is review and approve, and put a date. I took that right back to the building department, and the building department lady was like, wow, really? You you sure this is him? And I was like, yeah. Do you want to see the pictures? I even took a
Yeah.
picture with him. And she was like, okay, well, the rest is easy. I'll be able to handle the rest. I got the permit within 3 days.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So
And
again, you were there's challenges, your objections, you're stepping up and doing things. These are not, we sort of highlight bought it for this, rented it for that, sold it for that, but there's work in between, right?
exactly.
Okay, so
And
let's
there,
fast forward to where you are now. Like what are you working on? What are your holdings? What are you doing right now?
Sure. So, if you ask me about years ago or 2 years ago, I have about 1 to 2 million asset under management. I own portfolios, and we actually was downsizing in the past year, because the market price are going up higher, and I believe there will be much better opportunity come up
Mhm.
this year. So we are. I basically noticed that I really want to go all in,
Mhm.
and I really get excited to learn how people can put their fund together, put their resource together to really target those larger deals. Because there's one lesson I learned was property management is really, really the key of the success, right? Buying
Yeah,
a house is easy,
right.
but run it well is difficult.
Right.
And if you have to do it yourself, then it's basically not a job.
Yep. Yep.
So as long as you get to a large enough deals, you can really free yourself.
Yeah. I learned that lesson. I started my own property management company, started just property my own managing, at like 15, 20. And then I started doing it for some clients. And then I was doing so much property management activities, meeting tenants, changing light bulbs, whatever, that I didn't have time to even acquire new properties or look at new
Mhm.
properties. And I just felt stagnant. And then I outsourced it. I found some property managers that I liked, and they took over my properties, and then I could just focus on acquisition,
Exactly.
acquisition, and then I was able to grow. But I
Exactly.
did learn a lot through it. But I think everyone wants to start as a property manager, one because it's it's they're all in. All right. And
Mhm.
it's probably all their money that they've got. It's their first investment. They're nervous and scared. And then, I think you need to go through that. And then
Yeah,
once you go through that, and you kind of understand the ropes, then you kind of move forward.
for
So
sure.
you're putting together bigger deals now. Your apartment syndication, where
Mhm.
you're basically saying, here's a much bigger deal. Let me raise money. Let me raise
Right.
some funds. Let's put a team together to buy
Mhm.
these bigger deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a specialist or engineer or scientist, right? I noticed that there's a lot of income, high income earners around me who are having this financial burdens, not able to free themselves from the corporate job or whatever job. Eh, I notice a lot of them they have the talents that really can create a lot more value if we simply allow them to do it,
Hmm.
right? And they can't do it because of this financial burden. So I decided to create this capitals, MIT Capital, which stand for Mindset into Transformations. This is the capital that I want to create as a platform to allow all the people like me who get heavily taxed, who can free themselves, and do really those valuable things. I want to make them be available at least into year 11th, right? So I
Right.
want to create a capital platform for them to really invest and really use those, potential tax money to pay for the investment, things like that. And down the road, eventually they're going to free themselves,
Right.
right? And so this is my new missions. Well, I've been doing it for most of years now. I am also trying to get my first few deal a home run, just like what I did
Right.
for my first small deal.
So yeah, so let's talk about this apartment syndication. You're basically saying, hey, I'm going to run a deal. I have a track record. I have a resume. I did this in Montana. We didn't talk about all your deals in sort of New
Mhm.
England, Philadelphia area, but you've done a lot in between as well. And people who are in your network see you successfully doing this. They're saying, hey, I've got this high paying job. I love it. I don't want to leave it. But I want to invest in you. And you say, okay, you want to invest in me, you want to invest in me, you invest in me. Okay, well, let me do a bigger deal. I'm going to find the property manager. I'm going to negotiate the deal. I'm going to do the due diligence. I'm going to do the financing. You're basically the operator. That's called the GP,
Correct.
general partner. And then these investors make up the LP, the limited partner. They have limited decision making, right? And so you're using other people's money.
Hmm.
Sometimes you put your own money in the deals, I would imagine. Sometimes you don't need to,
Yep.
depending on the deal. And so that this is a way where you can really scale. You're doing the same thing. You're just doing it instead of doing it in duplexes and triplexes. You're buying 10 unit, 20 unit, 30 unit apartment buildings, and sort of you're sharing the proceeds. So not 100% of the cash flow comes back to you. It it comes, you pay out your investors based on what agreed upon
Exactly.
rate up front, and then sort of they're almost like another mortgagee, right? Because you pay your mortgage, and then you pay your
Exactly.
investors, and then whatever's left over is goes to you. And so that's called
Yep.
the capital stack, right? The mortgage is
Exactly.
one set of capital, your investors is another set of capital, and then your own capital, that's the capital stack, and then whatever's left over is the cash flow. You're the GP. You make a decision. Hey, I'm going to do a renovate it. I'm going to charge this in rent. I'm going
Hmm.
to decide to sell it today, or I'm going to do a cash out refi. I'm not going to sell it now. But that's what people are investing in you to make that decision, because
Exactly.
you're the real estate expert, right? The doctor, the lawyer, the attorney, they're not real estate experts, but they do want to put your money into real estate. So
Exactly.
so that transition, was there a lot to learn to kind of
For
step into
sure.
that? Yeah.
For sure, it's a big league game. Basically, you need to really think about in the way how business operate than just buying one property as an investment, right? You need to gather your own team, right? People who walk the property, learn about the ups and downs and pros and cons, and run those number underwriting, and also people who need to be in legal expertise to facilitate, like, not only the transaction but also the potential operation, right? Because there's no way that you'll be going into a 200 unit property and talk to individual tenants, hey, you want to pay your rent, or
Right,
you want
right,
to
right.
fix this toilet, right? So I mean, property management is another big piece that you have to get someone who are experienced and really have a system in place to run it. So I think you made a very good point. As a general partners GP, I made all the decisions for this deals, for this
Mhm.
project, for this business, right? And you're trusting me to make those calls, right? And how can I convince you that I will make good calls? Because I went all in. I
Right.
went all in 10 years ago. I went all in 5 years ago, and went all in right now.
Right.
And I really like the fire movement that you're doing, right? Financial independence, retire early. Actually, well, it's not really public yet, public knowledge yet, but I actually plan to retire in the next weeks or two and
Oh,
went
hey,
all in.
congrats. Yeah.
Thank you
Oh,
very much.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to went all in to this, really just focus on what I love, right? And I started to get some calls from investor, and I share with them on the challenges that I have faced, how I deal with them, right? With the story that I just shared, you would know that I not only acknowledge the issue, I
Right.
actually went to resolve it in creative ways.
Yeah, yeah. So it's sharing stories like that. People want to invest in a person like that who, I trust Benjamin Huang with my money. This is his track record. This is his story. This is his reputation. And a lot of times it's hard to raise money until this is your full-time job. Like I don't want to give money to someone who's doing an apartment, giant apartment deal as a hobby or in his off hours, right? Like
Exactly.
you're going to be way more successful if you're like, this is all I'm doing and I'm raising money. And, I put a few deals like this together myself. And yeah, it took me slogging 10 years of everything and
Mhm.
just learning the business. And before other people are like, hey, I want to invest in you too, Alan. And what's interesting is that a lot of people are scared by these 20 units, 30 units, 40 units, but actually it's easier, right? It's in
Yeah.
many ways it's easier because if you've got 10 different houses, they're all different. They got different plumbing, different HVACs, different, you're driving
Mhm.
all over town and you have, but typically an apartment complex, all the units are the exact same floor plan. When the plumbing went in, it all got done at the same time. In every unit, it's this and that. And it's, if you have 10 vacant units in a 40 unit property, the 30 units are still covering the mortgage note, right?
Exactly.
But if you've got one house that's empty, then you're scared and nervous because that's just a lot,
0 and 100.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So in scaling, the expenses get cheaper because a plumber wants to be the plumber of a 40 unit, and they'll give you a volume discount for being the
Mhm.
plumber of a 40 unit, more so than for a quadplex or 4 houses all over town.
Exactly.
So you go to the top of the line, you get you to go buy 40 dishwashers that are all the exact same at Home Depot. You get a contractor's discount. All these things sort of you start. Wow, this was easier. I should have started with these bigger ones.
Yeah.
But I think everyone does have to kind of go through those
For
chapters of
sure.
life, to
For sure.
work their way up, and then you appreciate it, and people believe in you. So,
Right.
so this is called MIT Capitals, and your social media is at MIT Capital.
Yeah. With
It,
the S, MIT Capitals.
ca-
I intended to add S because I believe this is going to be the capital that serve the communities, of people, who are sick of their job or really seek for financials, independence. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So MIT Capitals also have a podcast, Mindset and Transportation, and also MIT Capitals. Any other way for people to follow up with you, Benjamin? Anything else you want to leave us with here?
Yeah, so we are having our website coming up live in probably next 2 weeks or a month. It's MIT Capitals, CAPITALS.com, and there you can learn more about me. There's a email subscription. You can feel free to put in your email. We'll keep you updated. And if you're interested, feel free to further connect with us, to our next deals. All right.
All right, Benjamin Huang, thanks for sharing your story with us. Saying it's a struggle out there, guys. There's never perfect time to get through the market. Just get started. And this episode's been sponsored by Jasmine Mortgage Team. If you have a residential property, primary investment or otherwise, need a HELOC, refinance, want to just purchase your first small multifamily, jasminemortgageteam.com, get a free mortgage consultation, costs you nothing, takes 15 minutes. It's where I get my personal loans from as well. So thank you, Jasmine Mortgage Team. Been nice talking to you, Benjamin. Can't wait to follow your stories. Thanks for joining us today on the House of AC.